After finishing a shift at Providence Portland Medical Center, Susan Kuhnhausen returned to find a note from her husband, Michael, saying he'd gone to the beach to clear his head. Which, I looked into this a little bit. Apparently their marriage was not doing so hot at the time, which, of course, is the precursor for this entire story. But obviously don't know any specifics, but they were on the rocks. Let's just call it that. And so what seemed like an ordinary night for her quickly turned into a nightmare that would reveal betrayal and test the limits of her strength and her resilience. And I think would prove her to be one of the most badass 51-year-old women that I've ever heard about, truly. As she walked into her bedroom, an assailant leapt out from behind the door, wielding a claw hammer. And I want you to just, for 1 second, think about, I always like to think that in a situation, your instincts, your survival instincts kick in, you know, what you're capable of, what we as people are capable of in a survival situation would probably blow your mind. I mean, we're capable of, it's just this, your brain goes into survival mode. But I want you to think about it. You just walk into your house after work, you've had a 12-hour shift or whatever. It's kind of dark. You go into your bedroom to flip on the light and you see a shadow dart out towards you with a claw hammer. That has to be one of the most terrifying real life situations I can imagine. Am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, and I'm assuming she's by herself too. Like
sure.
There's nowhere else to scream for help, and your screams may go unanswered. So you have to do something.
Well, yeah, you're, but I think it's fight or flight, right? So you either clam up and cower, like, or you immediately just spring into action. And however whichever way that's gonna go for you or for I don't think we know until we're in the situation. Like I said, I like to think that I would,
I think I mentioned this before, but we had kind of a previous job. We had one of those, what happens if you are injured or, you're bleeding or you break a leg or if you're attacked. And the message that I heard loud and clear that day that I still remember, I'm glad I still remember it, is, don't ever get taken. Like, fight back. Like, your chances of survival once you're taken are greatly reduced. So you need to, even if you get injured in being attacked, you need to fight back. So I think listeners, if you haven't heard that, remember that if it ever comes up in your life,
Yeah, that's what they say, especially for women. But you never ever want to let someone if someone is abducting you, you never ever want to get to location number 2, because statistically, location number 2, wherever they're taking you to, is where bad things are going to happen. And if they're going to kill you, that's typically where it's at. So fight. Yeah. The attacker was Edward Haffey, a 59-year-old man with a very lengthy criminal history. We'll get into that in a little bit, in a minute. She's completely caught off guard, and she's struck on the left temple with a claw hammer, and then quickly puts her emergency room trainings into survival tactics. As I said, she's an emergency room nurse, so she's just trained to think quickly, and I think that's probably in large part what saved her life. Haffey tried to overpower her, but Susan resisted fiercely. She tackled him, and this is in no way meant to be derogatory at all, but we'll show some pictures. Susan is an average woman. She is not like a fitness grandma or fitness mom, you know what I mean? She's kind of portly. She's a average, for her to just tackle this assailant and fight for control of this hammer. And the first thing she does is she starts demanding to know who sent him. She's going, "Who sent you? I mean, this is like a Liam Neeson movie, you know?
Wow.
For real, it's completely impressive to me. I don't know, but she's going, "Who sent you? Who sent you?"
Did she
And
also say, "Why are you using a claw hammer? Like, what kind of weapon is that, too?" Like, that is, when you said that, that struck me as a little bit odd.
no, she didn't. She did say, "I have a specific set of skills." No, and the only thing this guy would say is he would mutter, "You're strong. You're strong." I mean, this guy's probably thinking this is going to be a cakewalk murder for him. I guess that's his intent. But she's fighting back, and he's like, "Holy shit, you're strong. This isn't going how I planned." Realizing obviously the severity of the attack and that this guy means business, she escalates her fight, wrestling the hammer away from him, and she strikes him with his own claw hammer. Then she puts him in a chokehold. And this struggle between the two lasts for at least 14 minutes, with Susan biting him in hopes that forensic evidence would later link her to the attack in case she didn't survive. And again, that forethought in the midst of this situation, this woman bites him for the sole purpose of it's going to leave my DNA, my teeth marks, they can identify me. How awesome is that? And I mean, it's like, it's incredible that this woman has these survival skills.
Yeah, a huge survivor intelligence, or whatever you want to call it. Like the intelligence and quick on your feet thinking is I've never heard of that. And I think you're right. Her being a nurse probably has a lot to do with it. I mean, my mom was a nurse for 40 plus years, and she always used to tell us, because she worked in the orthopedics unit, and she said, these old guys, they break their hip, but they were, some of them had tried to play games with the nurses, and they looked, but I'm serious, they looked weak, but they were very strong, like sneaky strong. And you just had to be on your best defense always, even with someone who might look sick or harmless,
Yeah,
So
well,
she had that built into her.
yeah, and we all know. I'm sure most of us know a nurse. I mean, obviously you know your mother, but you know, they're kind of built, especially once they've done it for a while. You deal with so many different people, so many different types of personalities, like you said, and they're really sweet, cool people, creepy people, mean people, and so they build up this, like, nurses are kind of built different.
Yes.
I gotta respect for him, but anyway, so she's choking this guy out, and eventually he goes limp. Battered but still alive, she grabs the hammer, rushes to her neighbor's house, and calls 911. Police, when they arrive, find Haffey dead at the scene. He is in her home dead, and evidence that they look through quickly points to her husband's involvement during the investigation. Haffey's planner, a little planner that he had on him, listed Michael's contact information, and investigators discovered that the two had previously worked together at an adult video store. There's that. Haffey was hired by her husband, Michael, for $50,000 to kill her. And it makes you wonder, the way she was immediately going, who sent you? Like, that to me was crazy, that she had this feeling this was not like a random thing, or maybe it's because of the way her marriage was. Maybe her husband had made threats to her.
Yeah. It wasn't like a random neighborhood burglar who just happened to stumble upon this house, right?
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
But I did find it odd, that was, it's very much like a movie, but that's what she said. Who sent you? And I told you this guy Haffey was not, he's got a record. He had actually been convicted in connection with another murder for hire case. That was a conspiracy to commit aggravated murder in 1994. He was convicted for arranging the murder of his ex-girlfriend, Georgia Lee Dutton, whose body was later discovered on the bank of a river. And he served 9 years in prison for that and was released in 2003. He also had previous convictions for both robbery and burglary, and was involved in numerous drug-related offenses throughout the years. You know, do you not? I guess he didn't learn his lesson clearly, but how crazy is that? That you can set up the murder of someone, be found guilty, and do 9 years for it. That doesn't seem like the punishment fit the crime.
We talk about this all the time. It's
9 years, man, for,
as we tell these stories and you're so in shock of what the result was and, what the end result was. And then you find out, well, gosh, this guy must still be imprisoned, or it's got to be life, or it's got to be even, could be the death penalty. What? And then you come to find out 5 years, 9 years, early parole, no big deal. They're in common society right now.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's wild. And so many of those people, when they get out in that short of a time, I mean, are you really rehabilitated? What's the likelihood that you're going to commit another crime? Obviously, this guy, it was 100%. Anyway, Susan's husband, Michael, went into hiding after this all happened, but was found by police a week later. Within days, she filed for divorce and then later changed her last name to Walters. In August of 2007, Michael pleaded guilty to soliciting his wife's murder. She confronted him in court, showing him photos of the injuries she sustained and demanded accountability for his actions. We'll share some of those pictures on the YouTube of that she held up in court.
She's a badass.
Oh, she's a total badass. I love this woman, and you'll love her even more when you hear, what she's doing with her life now. Michael was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but died of cancer before his release. Susan used the ordeal as a catalyst for advocacy, becoming a vocal supporter for crime victims in Portland. She worked with organizations like Women's Strength and the Oregon Crime Victims Law Center, and helped create Case Companion, which is a resource for navigating the justice system for women, battered women and things like that. That, to me, using an experience like that, you could either shut down, it could really change who you are for the worse, not trusting people. It really could, PTSD. There's all kinds of things that an experience like that could do to a person. But this woman went out and used that as a platform then for advocacy, and said, if I was in that situation, there's a lot of other people, and it was difficult to, where do you turn and support and stuff. I think that's awesome. And she is such a badass. I applaud that woman.
Well, her nurse toolkit, you can see, I can see like it playing out as she's putting these new things together. Like, this is how she thinks, and this is what her life is all about. The best thing I can say about her ex-husband, Michael, is that he's a coward. He not only hired someone else to do this for him, but then he hid, afterwards. Like I said, the best thing I can say about him is that he's a coward.
Yeah. It's such a weird, I don't even want to say it's a gray area, because we talk about so many of these kinds of cases, and the whole hiring someone to murder someone for you. Number one, that rarely ever works out. What was this story I did, about the hitman, the guy that hired a hitman to kill his business, whatever, competing business owner or something like that. And, that guy hired another guy, and that guy hired, and it was like 6 or 7 hitmen they got. Nobody wants to do that. Very few people.
And we believe that people can keep secrets, and people cannot keep secrets. So
very few.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, but you're right. That's a coward is definitely a great way to describe this guy, because I mean, and it's like, what do you gain out of that, man? If your marriage is that bad, where your thought is, I'm going to kill my partner, or I'm going to hire someone to kill and pay $50,000, dude, get a divorce.
Right.
I mean, it's not like I don't think, but it's not like there was like a $50 million fortune that was at stake here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds like they were probably pretty middle class, or maybe even upper middle class people. But it's like, why, you know? Anyway, I think she's awesome. I think what a legacy she's left, and it's just a story that, man, I was reading that and I was like, I would like to. That's someone I'd like to meet, and I wouldn't mess with. That's Susan Kuhnhausen. Love her. I'm Sean with Jason. This is How It All Went South. Hit the socials at How It All Went South. Email us at howitallwentsouth@gmail.com. Give us a story. Tell us your story. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. That's it. That's all I got. See ya. Thanks.